Hi then guys, today we're going to look at something that's quite close to my heart. If you've watched my channel, watched my live streams, you'll know that I'm a big fan of slower racing, like slower cars, but breed better racing. So today we're going to go through a few reasons, in no particular order, why I think GT4s in ACC deserve a lot more love than they get. So rather than you look at me, let's roll some footage and we'll go through them. Now, I know as sim racers we like to race the top class fastest cars available in a game. When it comes to sim racing as a whole, GT3 is probably king of the hill. It's probably the most popular in lobbies, it's what everyone wants to race, and when it comes to ACC, it's pretty much all there is when you go into public online multiplayer. So, for me, there's a few issues with this. They're more aero dependent and they're faster, so it's more difficult when it comes to wheel-to-wheel action. And I think this is where the more basic GT4 car excels. The slower nature of the cars gives more reaction time in a close situation, whilst the lower aerodynamic dependency means there isn't as much washout of the front end when running close behind another car. Combining these two factors means it's a lot more forgiving for your average sim racer to get some seriously close battles lasting multiple corners or even multiple laps. The variety in the GT4 lineup may not look as big as the GT3, but once you discard the multiple versions of some GT cars like the Ferrari Evo, the Audis, the Mercs with their multiple iterations, it starts to become a bit similar in numbers. From the bonkers no traction control ABS Maserati to the tiny little Alpine, each car has different driving style to master and its own strengths and weaknesses depending on the track. While in a series where you're running the same car for the whole thing, this might mean there's more variety in the results depending on how the BOP matches the track you're in. I actually like this. I think this is quite exciting. It means like you can have some faster guys that might not have the ultimate lap time because of the car they're running, so they qualify a bit lower, but they'll come through the field due to skill and consistency. The cars, they're beautifully modelled, sounds are excellent, as you would come to expect from ACC. I pretty much guarantee anyone, if they take the Maserati out, turn the speakers up full and just let it rip down a straight, you have a massive smile on your face. GT4 cars are also sometimes slightly better suited to some of the tracks on ACC. I'm looking at the British DLC pack for a big chunk of this, by the way, but they're a bit smaller, a bit slower. Like I say, again, less aero dependent. I think for some tracks, for me, Brands Hatch, Donington, Snettington, Alton, they're all typical British tracks. They're quite narrow. We've got some high speed bits, some low speed bits, and realistically for me, they don't breed the best GT3 racing, whereas I think the sort of more door-to-door action of the GT4s are much more suited to this. Like, take a full grid of GT4 cars to Donington and just let rip. You'll enjoy it. It's good. The track suits GT4 as well as it suits touring car, really. It's that kind of track. Whereas I think the GT3s tends to be a bit follow the leader through some of these tracks. Maybe that's my skill level showing, or maybe that's just the nature of the beast. But for me, the GT4s have their place on those tracks and they're better than the GT3s at it. There's also the way they drive. Now, I don't rate myself as a physics expert. I like what I like in sims, and to me, what feels natural and what doesn't. Whether I'm right or wrong, it's all a matter of opinion, really. Mine's is the same as anyone else's. You can take it with a pinch of salt and just hear me out on it, I guess. But for me, the GT4s are more engaging to drive than the GT3s. Like, they're quite, if you get the Camaro or the Beamer, stuff like that, the back end can get a little bit happy, it can be a bit fun, the slides are easy to catch, you've got the assists like the traction control and stuff, and I think that just, it breeds a more engaging drive for me. The Maserati with its no traction control, no ABS, you're right on the edge of locking the brakes or spinning the rears, really difficult to get to grips with, but when you hook a lap up in that car, it's probably the most rewarding experience on here. Maybe similar to the Porsche Cup, but for me it's just a little bit more fun. maybe because it is just a little bit more manageable. I was going to say more handleable, but that's not a real word. So more manageable works for that. Yes, like the force feedback you get for it, just communicative. It's natural to me. It feels natural to drive those cars, whereas I find with the GT3s I struggle a little bit more to find the absolute limit of grip. I could quite often either be well under it or well over it and not quite find that on the edge bit that you need to find to get the ultimate pace. Whereas I find in the GT4s it's a little bit easier to find that and to hold it there. You can feel the grip come back in when you've come around a corner and you just got to get on the accelerator out. You can feel that grip come in and then you can just boot it out of a corner. And for me, that is the driving experience I want from ACC, and the GT4s fit it for me better than the GT3s do. This will probably be the last one because I've rambled enough, but I actually think that they're possibly more of a challenge to drive in a multi-class endurance race, and I'm probably going to get some stick for that. But for me, if you're racing a GT4, you've got your own race to deal with and you're getting the faster cars come through. Now I know that GT3s have to lap GT4s. To me, being lapped by a GT3 is more difficult to deal with in a race than it is to lap a GT4. When you're the car lapping, you know where you're going to go. You don't know what the other car's going to do, but you assume they're going to probably stay offline. You do tend to bully them. I'm not going to lie. I think anyone that's driven in the faster class in multi-class that hasn't bullied the car behind or the class behind is probably lying to themselves, because we all do it. We all launch one up the inside when we shouldn't possibly do it or something like that. But when you're the car that's got that happening to you, you're looking in your mirrors and you're concentrating on the battle you're doing, and I think that breeds more of a challenge. And I also think, like, because their fuel tanks, they actually will run probably 80 to 90 minutes. Now if you're not limited on driver stints, this can bring in a little bit more, not so much a little bit more, but possibly a bit more fuel strategy and tyre strategy on this, because your tyres are going to be worse after 90 minutes than they would after an hour in the GT3s, arguably. But your fuel strategy can be quite big. If you take, like, say that you had 7 hours of a race to go, now that's roughly, well, it works out as 4.6 pit stops, so that's 5 realistically going to have to take. But there's an argument if for that 7 hours you fuel save, you could knock off that 0.6. Whereas I think with the hour pretty much running time of a GT3, you got 7 hours to run, 7 pit stops, and it was 6 pit stops in the last hour, if you see what I mean. But yeah, there's just that little bit more strategy to get involved in, and obviously that's if you keep it clean and don't have to pit out of sequence for damage and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, give it a try next time there's a multi-class event on. Try running the GT4s and just see the challenge involved in being the slower class. I promise it's a bit stressful, but I think you will enjoy it. Now, whether you agree with me or not, I don't know. Put a little comment below if you do, put a little comment below if you don't, and we'll have a discussion about it, because realistically that's what it's all for, isn't it? And yeah, if you've liked what I've put, or you want to see more of this sort of content, hit the subscribe button, the notification button. It'll tell you when I go live, generally on a Thursday night, normally on play a bit of Race Room Ranked. I'll probably be streaming the next ACC league I get involved in. I'm waiting for the Rapid Drivers Club, GT4 Season 3, which I don't know when that will come around. Hopefully soon. We've only just finished Season 2, but it was such good fun. I want to go straight into Season 3. If you're not part of that, I'll drop a link in the Discord below, And yeah, catch you in the next one.